Good day to everyone. It is indeed a blessed day for me and, of course, for all of us because this is another chance for us to learn and to be informed of things that we need to know, especially now that we're having this virtual conference and we need to be clarified with some pertinent issues, which is very relevant nowadays. And I am indeed honored and blessed also to have been given this task of sending to you what I have known and what I have learned in order to help all of us, especially in the field of psychology, that we really need to be harnessed of, especially now that our learners and as well as our parents need this very much. And first of all, my greetings to everyone, the administrators and spiritual advisors, and as well as the teachers who are listening now. It's indeed my joy to be a part of this Congress, and I hope that after this talk, you will learn as much as I have learned as well. And this day, I would like to give to you the topic about mental health, adapting to the new normal in the academe. So don't worry because from time to time, the PowerPoint that I have made will be flashed on the screen so that it will guide you through the process of our discussion. So again, I am going to discuss with you mental health and adapting to the new normal in the academe. For as we know, this is very much important and relevant to the situation we have right now. And first and foremost, I would like to give special citation and thanks to Dr. Norly Domenden. He is tagged as the Psychologist of the North, wherein this talk of mine is adopted. And thank you very much, Doctor, for the timely and relevant discussion and webinar I have attended. And this helped me a lot also in understanding what our present situation calls for. And I hope that this will also help us in this school system and bringing this about also. So shall we start? Are you ready now? I know that you are indeed ready because we have been through a lot for these past months and of course for the previous year. And we have learned a lot as well. But again, I would like to remind all of us that the situation we are facing this school year is a lot different from before. You know, before had been very smooth and the usual thing we do, every day we do and every day we cater. But now this is a different story because of the present pandemic we are experiencing. But nevertheless, thanks be to God because there are ways wherein we can be helped and we can help as well. There are ways that we can deliver the things that we know in order to help our learners adapt to these changes. Now, we also have to look into this situation, not only their IQs, but as well as with their EQs. Or shall we have a bigger umbrella, the mental health of the pupils or learners? And we have to take into consideration right now. So let's have this first and discuss the goals of education. First and foremost, we have to see these goals as very important and crucial in bringing about a new program. Because you cannot start a program without looking into the core. So let's look at the goals of education first before we put necessary intervention, the things that we need to put into our present situation. So the goals of education are the following. Education is for, number one, change. Yeah, of course, because change is evident every day, every second, every minute. People change, a lot changed. Even the situation now is changing. The curriculum has not been changed, but it has been, or there is an addition to it. And this change has to be evident, or it has to exist in order for these learners to adopt. That's why education is not only for change, but it's also to adapt to changes. So that's number two. Number one goal, education is for change. And number two, it is to adapt to changes as well. Because we really have to embrace the new trend. We have to face reality. Yun naman talaga ang totoo. We have to embrace it, we have to love it, and we have to understand in order for us to learn. If we are very resisting of the changes, then we cannot learn. But since the goal of education is for change, we have to adapt for the changes, or to the changes as well. And next is preparation for the future. Another goal for education is to prepare our learners for the future. That's why we teach them well. We harness them, their skills. We teach them how to do this and how to learn this, because we are preparing these kids for the future. Yeah, that's why it is very essential for us to know our job, our description, in order for us to help prepare our learners in the future. So according to Martin Seligman, he is a well-known American psychologist and a proponent of positive psychology. He said, there is a quotation that he said, we are creatures living for the future. Well, that's true, because what we're doing now is for the future. That's why Maranatha Christian Academy is trying its best, real best, in order to bring about a very good outcome for our learners. Okay? So next, I would also want to show you a graphic presentation of the goals of education. I have here a pie chart which will be subdivided into 5 parts and slices that I would want to discuss with you one by one, at least just to give us a glimpse of what we should target as educators, as teachers, or even if we're in the upper rank of the school system. We have to take a closer look at this essentials in order for us to arrive at a very good program. So let me discuss one by one with you what should we learn to inform our learners, and for us also, we should be very keen of this. So first one is physical. In the physical aspects, we should experience their wellness before illness. Of course, we educate our learners, we educate everyone that wellness is important for us not to have illness. Especially now, yung COVID, di ba? We are always reminded to do this and to do that. For us not to have that kind of disease, which is very novel. Of course, it's new, and they're still in the process of knowing it better. So there is much need to learn this kind of virus. So that's why they are taking precaution, and they always tell us, especially our government, the health people in the department of our government is always giving us a reminder, a warning that we should do this or else there will be a disaster to come. So we experience wellness before illness. It's very essential. We should always think about helping our kids know their physical bodies and educate them what they need to know in order not to be sick, as well as to make responsible body choices. Of course, that's physical side, and practice self-care. And as well as with intellectual, we cannot resist this one because this is very important. The intellectual aspect, which challenges the mind in new ways and creatively increase productivity, of course, and identify issues and choose action. Education is not only for a big charter for intellectual. Let's always remember it's a big pie that intellectual is only a slice. No? Should be physical, intellectual, and next would be emotional. Yeah, of course, if there's an IQ, there's gonna be an EQ. Emotional pertains to an approaching life optimistically and effectively coping with stress. Nako, yung stress na yan, very, ano yan eh. It's not controversial, but it's very common. But that if we are not feeling well, we always say, oh, I'm stressed. Oh, I feel bad. I'm stressed. You know, you're sick. I'm stressed kasi. Now, it has been an everyday language because of, let's say, if somebody has felt something bad on his body, he might think that, ay, kasi dala ng stress yan. Which is very common naman. And even psychologists accept the fact that it's really that. And it's better off than saying, problematic ako eh. Diba? Mas gumanda eh. Kaya stress mas magandang sabihin kaysa the word problematic. Ano? Sabi nga nila, mas social. Anyway, it's on the same realm. And as well as with growing self-awareness and accepting feelings, that's also emotional. The goal of education is to teach our learners these things in order for them to adapt clearly on the side of life and to adapt to, moving life forward. Okay? Next would be social. If there's physical, there's intellectual, there should also be social. Because a person needs somebody to talk with, somebody to communicate with. That's why counselors are very essential in a school. That's why there are guidance counselors, there are even psychologists, behavioral therapists, psychotherapists, in order for them to cater problems which pertains to emotions. There are people na if they cannot blurt out their feelings, they would feel like exploding. Para ka bang sasabog, which is actually true, no? And if you cannot anymore control, and you cannot anymore fill in this barrel of problems in your heart, you really need to let it out, and at least that would make you feel fine. Okay, so in the social aspect, that is helping an individual and educating an individual to grow interpersonal connections. That's what I'm talking about a while ago, that we need to have a channel of talk or channel of communication in order us to relieve our tensions, to relieve our problems, to relieve, this everyday burdens that we have. We need someone to talk with, and that is very important. It's like in the church, we do prayer. Why? Because we need to talk with God every now and then. It's like something that would relieve us from the pains and struggles in life. That's why we need to pray. But in the realm of education, we need interpersonal connection. Intrapersonal it could be, or interpersonal it could be, as well as its connection, then it's okay. It's also with the pertaining to living in harmony with others and stabilizing support network. When I am in my, I forgot what title of the class I am in before, we were told by our professor to do a support network. That is like you build a group in order to help a specific problem. For example, one famous support group that is adopted by many schools now is this OFW children support group, which is very relevant now because a lot of parents today are working abroad and their children are left to be tended by their grandparents or even their relatives. So they need support by means of having communication with children with the same scenario. Yung bang, yung pare-pareho silang mga bata na mayroong ganong estado. Lahat sila mga anak ng mga OFW. That's what I'm talking about. The kind of support network. So that's social. And in the realm of education and that goal of education, this has to be considered. Next, of course, we have all of those. As I have told you a while ago, these are very important. So let's take it one by one. Physical aspect, next intellectual, next is emotional, next is social, and of course, we should not forget the very important, the basic tenet. That's why Maranatha Christian Academy is very well known of. That is spiritual. We have doing this for years. And by God's grace, many of our pupils and our learners have learned this from us because of our maxim and spiritual aspect helped us and our learners to be closer to God and to know and identify their values and beliefs. That's why spiritual aspect is very important. It builds tolerance of others as well as it also gives meaning to life and purpose. There are kids or students who come to us before telling us that they're so deprived and, life for them is so depressing. I have been a counselor also for a bundle of years and I have experience talking with pupils and even students with different kind of problems. So we have learned from them that some of them also have this problem of giving the meaning of life and purpose because of probably negligence of, I may not say it's the negligence of their parents, but because of the situation they have, it might be that they have connotated it or they have presumed that the situation they are in is the result of negligence. So they have felt so terrible in their life. They will come to you and ease out their burdens and tell you, teacher, what should I do with my life? My life is terrible. No? So that's why here you come giving them an advice, and especially an advice that would open their eyes to identify their values and belief in life, and as well as introducing them the most important thing a person should possess, and that is belief in God. And as educators, this is very essential. We should know these things as goals of education, aspects, things that we need to know. We have to take always into consideration and remind us always. So let's go now to another point to consider. After we have learned these goals of education, we now go to the elements of education. Who are the protagonists around, diba, sa pelikula May Bida? Sino-sino ito? We should have to know, and we should know this. Of course, number one is the teacher. Hindi pwedeng mawala sa school ang teacher. It wouldn't be a school without the teacher, of course. And what else? Siyempre, may learner. Hindi pwedeng teacher lang. There should also be a learner, no? It's either pupils or students. And ano pa? Of course, the process. That is the teaching itself and the content. Ika nga, these two are essentials, and of course, the other, they cannot run without that. So the teacher, the learner, and the process. The process is very important because that is the instrument that is going to be used in order to help the learners be educated of and to be informed of what's going on and what's going to happen and things like that. Okay, now we go to factors in focus. There are factors that we need to be in focus right now. Although I'm going to give this four to you, but I would rather want to discuss with you the last. I'm going to give you 4 bullets that we have to consider and to be in focus. Number 1 is the constant changes, especially now. It's very evident that the changes is progressively going, and changes itself is not constant, but there is always change. That's why it's constant change. No? Change is never eliminated. Baga, hindi siya naalis. Lagi na siyang pagbabago. At mananatili siyang magbabago. That's why it's constant change. And also natural calamities, which is very evident as well. Calamities such as earthquakes, it's very frightening. I remember in our place last year, which started October, like 3rd week, it was devastating so much that people went so crazy that they thought a big tsunami is going to destroy the place. But it was a false alarm. But still, the shake was so hard, no? And because that time we weren't in Manila, we weren't in our place in Davao. We are in Manila. That's why we weren't able to experience that shake. And it was followed by more and more shaking. That there are buildings which are devastated, which now are totally banned from habitation. It's not anymore to be used. So, condemned. Buildings are already condemned because of the big cracks that it can no longer hold, people to stay there. Calamities such as volcano eruption. It's very recent, just last January, if my memory serves me right. Yes, and this volcanic eruption is so it just came out like a snap of a finger, and nobody is even aware of that. They might probably say it might erupt anytime, but we didn't know what day, what time it's going to erupt. It just erupted, and then it's followed by more shaking. So these are natural calamities. And not only that, typhoon came about, lots and lots of typhoons which destroyed cities, destroyed houses, destroyed habitats, lots of destructions by these natural calamities. And this also has to be considered with our present education scenario, and as well with man-made disasters. Man-made disasters are, it's man-made. It's the result of man's negligence. It probably result of man's desire to create something that would eliminate somebody or even a group of people. So that could be man-made disasters. And the last one is pandemic. It's very relevant, timely. Now we're experiencing this very bad pandemic. Before, it's only an endemic to a specially closed but a populated place in Asia. But now it's on the bigger scale. Our country is even affected by this pandemic. So we have to have this focus in our present education realm, this pandemic, in order for us to create a good program. Because now there would be a different scenario unlike before because of this pandemic, which is still very, very new, and until up to now, no vaccine is ready. No vaccine is ready to be given to people, but we are hoping and praying for the best that someday um, God will send out people whom He will use in order to come about with a very good vaccine. Okay, so let's focus on this pandemic. In focus, COVID-19 pandemic and its effect. We have to discuss this also before going to the things that we need to know and going to how we can adapt to this scenario in our schools. So let's focus first with this pandemic and its effect. Number one, it has a big effect in the physical state and well-being of man. Of course, people will get sick. And when he is sick, if he will not recover, then he will die. Nakakalungkot nga lang, this disease is far more different from other illnesses, which is very, very sad thing to know. So physical, effects on the physical, very crucial, as well as with social. Kaya before, we are used to be socially capable of bringing in friends and acquaintances, but now, what we are practicing is social distancing. Funny itself, but it's true. Before we are practicing, we need to have social connections. We need to gain lots and lots of, friends, to meet them, to have bonding with them. But now, no more. That we have to distance ourselves from these people. Kaya ngayon, uso na kapag ka naglalakad ka sa kalye, kusa ka nang iiwasan. Pati ikaw, iiwas ka na rin. It's very common now. Iba na yung term ng social. Now, you have to distance yourself from others in order not to get sick. And that's true. And another aspect is psychological and emotional. Of course, there had been reports of suicides lately. There had been reports of depression. I was reading the news. I was reading the news via internet this past few days, and I was struck from an event which is about a man or a person who end his life because he told himself, a boy, a male student who end his life because he can no longer afford to buy himself the things he need to learn. The things he need for his schooling. So, just to get rid of his burdens, he end his life. Well, that is a very, very sad situation, the student wasn't able to talk with some people in order to not to pursue his plan of suicide. That's why we cannot blame the situation for that. Right? It's the decision of the boy, but then he wasn't able to talk with somebody. That's why he just did it out of depression because he told himself that his family has no money anymore and they don't have enough funds. That's why he'd rather end his life, right? Which is very, very sad. Depression, most of the time, is a big percentage of depressive clients, even depressive patients. They tend to resort to suicide, which it's not an uncommon thing right now. like a month ago, I guess, or weeks ago, I was able to had my personal experience with a suicidal client. Actually, it's not a client, but it's a former student. No? That student told me that she planned to end her life because of her miserable situation. So thanks be to God, because there is always prayer. Plus, I told her that life is precious. No, you cannot get it from ending it. That's why by God's grace, he's okay. She's okay now. I'm just giving you an example of these people who are in depression, and they tend to finish their life in order to uh, eliminate their depressive states or depressive moods. Okay? So, isang epekto yan ng pandemic. And as well as with the academic. So, dito naman tayo magfo-focus ngayon with the academic side. No? Because academic has something to do with us being educators, and as well as our kids as our learners. So we need to take a closer look at that. I would also give you some bullets here about the effects of pandemic. First, on the physical side, as I have discussed a while ago, so these are the things that is, of course, has the great effect on the physical aspect. Number one, health concerns. Of course, as I have told you a while ago, marami na nagkakasakit. And as well as because of inactivity, that's number two. Lack of exercise, because you're always at your home. Yung mga walang space sa kanyang bahay, hindi na rin makapag-ehersisyo man lang. So that's why people now are getting heavier than before. Yung sabi nila, hindi na quarantine pig. Because of the situation. And also, eye strain. Because of that is something to replace the activity that you are doing before. That's why ngayon medyo mas tumatagal ang time ng tao sa pagbabasa ng mga news or whatever it is, social media, through their gadgets, so internet and the like. And also digital problems. Ano po yung digital problem? Siyempre, gagamitan mo ng daliri yan, di ba? Kamay, daliri, or what. So, I don't know if we're having carpal tunnel syndrome na kapag matagal ka nang nagpipipindot niyan, may sumasakit na rin sa kamay mo. And that is very common. And as well with social aspect, that includes isolation and longing. No? Kasi nga, wala nang bonding sa mga friends. Unlike before, baga it's okay that, can I call you? Can we go out? Let's eat outside. Now, no way. We should have distancing. So, isolation. You are on your own. You are in quarantine. Diba? That's why that's the basic tenet of quarantine. That you are isolated. No, you cannot go out. You should stay at home. Or else, you will have to catch that dreaded disease. And, of course, longing. Longing of your loved ones, longing of your friends, and these people who are very, very important to you. And as well with psychological and emotional. So, minsan yun nga, the psychological aspect, mood disturbances, depressive symptoms, anxiety symptoms. Ano yung anxiety? Lagi ka nalang nagwo-worry. Ano bang mangyayari? Ano na ba ang ano? Marami tayong wino-worry sa buhay natin. Okay? And frustrations. Frustrations such as, ba't nagkaganito? But then, when we have to realize that these things happen because it's going to be or have a domino effect. This pandemic will not just affect a certain aspect of life, but it will also affect lots and lots and even all aspects of life. That's why people have these frustrations that is making them very anxious, worrier, and the like. And academic as well, children lose interest, especially those that they say na, uy, nako, hindi ako sanay sa ganyan. Wala akong skill sa ganyan. Kahit nga ang teacher, di ba? No, they're afraid because of this new technology that they have not tried. They have not tried yet. Not only in our system, but in other institutions as well, that they're not well versed of technology, that they have to embrace the new technology now, and as well as this disrupted momentum and feeling of being de-optimized. Okay, next, how do we view the circumstances? Let's look at this. How do we view the circumstances? Let's take this first item, internal versus external. Paano ba natin tinitignan itong sitwasyon natin ngayon? So, let's look at it. Internal versus external. When we say internal, it means tayo yung may control ng sitwasyon. We can control the situation by ourselves. That is internal. But when we say external, these are situations which are very uncontrollable. We cannot control this unless there is a specific intervention. So that's it. So internal versus external. That's how we view the situation or the circumstance that we're facing. As well as stable and unstable. Ano po yung stable? Circumstances which are permanent. That is stable. Hindi mo na mababago yan. Stable nga yan eh, di ba? And when we say unstable, these are circumstances which is temporary, which can be changed. Sabi nga, now we cannot use face-to-face modality, but once a vaccine is out in the market, so probably this online modality would be eliminated progressively or regressively. So that is unstable, meaning to say temporary lang yung circumstance. It can be changed, okay? And as well as with global versus specific. Global is, I can also explain this to you through the pandemic which is happening. Pandemic is global, of course. And it's like, it's general, maraming naapektuhan. Maraming naapektuhan, lahat naapektuhan pagdating sa aspeto ng buhay. It's global. We're in specific, there is just a specific circumstance that is affected. Okay? Unlike global, mas malaki ang naapektuhan niya. Ang specific, maliit lang. So, if these circumstances are viewed as, kapag tung mga pangyayaring ito, ang pananaw natin would be external, would be stable, would be global, ano pong resulta niyan? The result would be learned helplessness. Kapag ang isip natin na, I cannot control this situation. It's stable, it's permanent na, I think it will no longer go out. And it's global, it will not be controlled anymore. Ay, mahihirapan talagang mag-adapt. We cannot adapt to the new normal. There will be learned helplessness. Yeah, that's true. Because of probably the way we think. Learned helplessness is when something bad happens and the things you try to do doesn't matter. You don't try at all. You give up and remain passive even if conditions change. That is according again to a psychologist, Martin Seligman, na kapag daw hindi ka na gumagawa ng paraan. Give up ka na. You don't try your best anymore. You don't try at all. Everything doesn't matter, and wala na, passive ka na eh. Parang, "Ay, let bygones be bygones. I don't care, bahala na." And as well as with the word inescapable trauma, yung bang wala ng pag-asa. Wala nang babago. Wala na akong magagawa. That is what we call negativity. Negativity. And kalaban niya ng positivity. Because later on, I will discuss with you what I am driving you in today. Because for me, that is a very good thing that we should apply. Positivity in life. So later on, we will discuss that. So there are triggers of helplessness and anxiety. Ano po yun? Ambiguity. What is ambiguity? Hindi natin maintindihan mga bagay na hindi natin sigurado. We are not certain. That brings us to worry and anxiety. Ano pa? Something that you value is at stake. Of course, kaya yung iba nagkakaroon ng parang hindi nila kaya, they're so helpless. They are so filled with anxiety because something that they value is at stake. One good example is yung graduation ngayon taon, di ba? Wala namang nagmarchang bata unless it's done virtually. But still, that graduation is very important to a child's life. Parang ano yan eh, that will be the start of another big journey for them. No, kaya nga commencement exercises eh. Kaya lang, it deprived them from having such. That's why something that they value is at stake now. Unlike before, excited sila. Oh yes, I'm going to wear my toga. I'm going to receive my diploma. But now, oh my, I'm just receiving this virtually. No, it brought discouragement. That's why helplessness is also triggered. Parang nawala yung momentum eh. Nawala yung momentum ng mga bata. Well, we cannot blame them for that, but we have to explain to kids. We have to explain to them why this necessitates. So, okay? And as well as if you already fear the situation. Takot ka na talaga eh. So, that brings about helplessness. Kasi naduduwag ka na talaga sa sitwasyon, ayaw mong harapin. And being run down or depleted, we are trying to survive, but resources depletes. May iba nga eh, sinasabi nila dyan, suko na ako. Ayoko nang lumaban. Kapag ganyan yung mentality ng tao, it will bring him or her helplessness. That's why, especially with the learner, if the learner won't try to adapt to the new normal, it will just bring him or her helplessness. Okay? So, of course, there is always a silver lining, like Catriona Gray had mentioned in one of her famous answers during the pageant. There is always that silver lining of the situation. This is a wake-up call to embrace the trend. What else? To address the call of time and to respond to our learners' nature with respect to here, now, and the future. So this is a wake-up call that despite this disastrous event, merong pag-asa. Yan yung silver lining, di ba? Meron tayong naaaninag na pag-asa despite of this disastrous event that happened. And this is to help us to embrace the new trend. Medyo mahirap talaga ito. A lot are still skeptical about this. And how will this go? Ano ba ang outcome nito? Hindi ba ako maalangan? As a parent, hindi ba masayang ang budget ko dito? As a student, hindi ba ako magkasakit dito? Or as a teacher, hindi ba ako ganun din mangyari sa kanila? So, marami eh. So, digital age exists even before. Kaya lang, ngayon lang ito nagkakaroon ng focus. Actually, matagal na namang mayroon tayong mga digital learning, right? Even before. Pero now is a different scenario. We cannot hold a one-on-one discussion with our pupils. Rather, we are going to do that all in this screen. So, ganun yon. Okay? So, we have to embrace the trend. And this is the address and to address the call of time. So, wala tayong choice. We are left with no choice, but rather we have to fight for this, and we have to adapt. We have to find ways and means in order to adapt to this type of situation. Okay? So, the academe adapts the following. Number 1, the distance learning, the alternative learning, blended instruction, self-regulated learning. And that is the new normal. I love the word, but it seemed to me that the word is very vague. There are lots of things to consider in order to understand this new normal. When we say new normal, bagong gawin na yan. Unlike before. But how about our faces? Would it be new again? No, I guess. It's just the manner of how we introduce things to help us survive. So this is the new normal. So medyo inaaral pa natin. But in our school system, by God's grace, our cream of the crops are doing their best in order to arrive at a very good system to help us adapt with this new normal. Hindi naman kasi talaga madali. Hindi talaga madaling yakapin to. But then we need to, because it's the wake-up call. Although many teachers still adapt to the old ways of teaching, there are teachers who are hindi naman po matanda, pero it might be that they're not interested with technology before. Now, they're hesitant. How am I going to do? Hindi ako sanay, hindi ako marunong. No? So, ang modality natin ngayon is online learning. How will this teacher react? Those who don't know technology, yan ang problema, no? But then, again, as I have said a while ago, we have to embrace the trend. No matter what we do and wherever we go, the new normal is there, and we have to adapt it. The new normal calls for the following. We have to consider family involvement, which is very important. Family involvement, of course, it involves the family itself. And the new normal in learning needs to be attended also by the family, especially with younger children. The family should always be there in order to guide these children on how they're going to cope up with the present trend. No? Unlike nga before, when the child comes home, hindi naman lang natin natatanong. Their parents na don't even ask their kids, "Uy, kamusta? Ano na kaya nagawa nito anak ko sa school?" But now, you can no longer ask that because your child will be at your side 24/7. So that's why you need to be there the family needs to be there in order to guide the child. Mas maganda nga, no? Although mahirap, but then the family involvement is very, very essential. So, as well as school, family, community collaboration, it's a support system where everyone in the community joins also in the learning process. I have gone with a rant from some teachers. Sabi pala nung, I don't know who told this, pero I've just gone this, I have heard this from social media, na sabi doon sa line ng mga parents, teachers will have less interaction with their students physically That's why yung sweldo daw dapat ng mga teachers or compensation of these teachers must be handed down sa mga parents. But we should teach our parents that parents are first teachers of the children. And as parents, there should be lifetime teachers. And as lifetime teachers, it is their responsibility. And if it's their responsibility, why should they be paid? Yun lang yun. Mas madaling sagot. No? It's their lifetime responsibility and why you should be paid. Diba? That's why school, family, collaboration. Dapat magkaroon nito ng magandang communication, especially now. If your communication with physical learning before is like 50 to 60%, now it should be 90%. Kasi hindi natin nakikita ang mga bata. There should be a greater collaboration with school, the family, and community. Okay? So, when parents entrust their kids to the teachers as well give them unconditional love. Alam niyo, we always say to our orientation and even our guidance program that teachers really give unconditional love to their children. Why? Sa mga maliliit na bata, teachers do wash their buttocks, no? Kapag nag-defecate yung bata, teacher ang maglilinis niyan. Kapag nagkalat yung bata sa room or something, they made a mess, teachers pa rin yan. Unconditional yan. It's not their job, but it's because they love their kids. Pag may problema ang bata, teachers din ang kausap. So, teachers are really heroes in the school. That's why they have really to be applauded, giving them applause because they are heroes, unsung heroes that is really giving their best in order to deliver good results to the students. And as well as with individual empowerment is empowering our learners individually. Now, that is through the modalities we're offering them, and it's gonna be in self-regulated learning. So, ang disiplina ngayon would really fall on the child. That's why there is a need for family involvement. Baka kasi mamaya sa online mawala. You don't even know that the child might log in but he's not listening. That's why the family involvement is very much crucial. In the individual empowerment, children learn with minimal supervision. That is the new normal. Kaya na niyang i-discover yung mga bagay kahit wala si teacher. Wala na yung learned helplessness. So, it will not be developed. Rather, it will be eradicated. So, tayo naman sa school, we have to trust our learners. If we have developed this to them, if they are individually empowered, we have to trust them. Okay? And, of course, if this is not effective, parents can tell us. But as for now, this is what we see as effective. Okay? And we really need to provide everything in order to get this done. Next would be the role of the academe. What is the role of the school? What can we do? It's coping and adapting. Yan naman talagang trabaho sa school. We have to cope, we have to adapt, yes. And we have to cure, prevent, and enhance whatever it is. Now, how can we do it? Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina. That is through positive education. We can do it through positive education. We cannot simply get what we want if we are negative thinkers. New normal can be done if the person or the individual has positive mind. So what is positive education? Positive education is using positive psychology in promoting holistic learner development. Positive psychology is the new science, actually. And to embrace this new trend, to embrace the new normal, one has to be positive. If we keep on instilling in our minds the negative aspects of this situation, we cannot embrace the new trend. We cannot have the new normal. But again, if one is positive, then it's easier for that person to embrace the new normal. So does it mean that the curriculum has to be replaced? Actually, no. The curriculum will still remain intact. Positive psychology or education has just to be, it will support. It will support the existing curriculum, and it will also integrate. What do we need to ponder? What do we need to consider or to think about? What do learners want in the future? Diba? They want to be happy. They want to be successful. Tayo, what are we teaching them? Academics, math, science, language, history, skills, etc. The traditional. In positive psychology or education, we have to consider happiness and success. They are not the goals, but they are the journey. Journeys, meaning to say, in order to take hold of the new normal, you have to take it with happiness, and you have to take it wholeheartedly. Yung word na ginamit ko kanina, unconditionally. You have to prepare yourself. Don't mind the negative things, but you just have to give into that in order to embrace it. Because that is the thing that we need to know now, because we are left with no choice. That's why happiness and success, these are not the goal, but these are journeys. This will go along the way. This will go along the path as we are going to the new normal. According again to Martin Seligman, if you live in a more benign world and you want to enjoy the world you live in, you have to break the hammerlock of the negative. That's true. Researchers also show that the non-cognitive skills such as values, attitude, and character, these are important. These are important to cater to positivity, as well as self-discipline and grit are twice important predicting and academic performance than IQ. Totoo yan. According to a psychologist also, Angela Duckworth, there are dimensions of grit, G-R-I-T. G stands for growth, R for resilience, I for instinct, and T for tenacity. These are the predictors for academic performance. Some people say that, hindi, basta mag-aral lang mag-aral lang isang bata, okay na yan. No, it's not a good predictor. But the self-discipline as well as grit, yun na sabi ko sa inyo kanina, just look at the screen. So these are good predictors of academic performance rather than the IQ. Okay? So if the child has this, mas maganda to. Can better embrace the new normal. Another research showed that IQ is not the special sauce of creativity, but ego strength, resilience, and sense of self. So, in embracing the new normal, it's the strength of the child, the resilience of the child, the sense of self of the child, as well as the teachers that would help each to develop and to adapt this new normal in schools. This is according to the IPAR studies by Barron and Berkeley. So, what is the benefits of positive education? Of course, it amplifies education and it rejuvenates teachers. Okay, so the basic philosophy of this is not eliminating the negative. Di naman tinatanggal talaga yan. Kasi it's already there. It exists. But we should identify what's best and the strength in learners rather than focusing on it. And another philosophy is not to change people's value. No, we cannot just change it, but to find out what they value and help them maximize it. That's the basic philosophy of positive education. It also says positive education, positive emotions undo negativity. You can see there yellow smiley there among the blue smiley, di ba? Iba talaga yung meron kang positive outlook in life. You know, you stand out from the group. You can see those blue, hindi siya smiley hindi siya ngumingiti, di ba? You can see those blue sad icons. could see that, wherein that yellow smiley is very outstanding. That icon is floating. The beauty of that. That means the emotion of positivity, it undo negativity. Baga, it brightens up the negative side of the situation. When one is positive, then the negative situation is being shrouded. Okay? That's why it's important for us to learn this. So that is to wrap up positive psychology. And we have to consider that in order to embrace the new normal, we need to be positive in our outlooks, and we need to have positive thinking in order to get to this, because this is a difficult time. And this will also help our mental states to think properly. If we're positive enough that this type of modality, this type of situation will help us, then be it. Because of the kind of character that you value, it will help you to get through things. I want to, although I also have some of interventions here, but I don't have much time. Maybe if sometime I would just give this to you, but I would want to end this talk with a ponder. No? The thing that we need to consider also, and we need to apply in our life. It says, we need to believe that our learners are capable of changing. Yes. Otherwise, we are not supposed to be in the academe. That's true. Pag wala tayong paniwala na walang mangyayari sa mga tinuturuan natin, we are really not inclined to the academe. But if we believe in them, we have positive attitude with them, well, we are fit in the academe. So, that's it. Thank you so much for listening, and my greetings to all of you. I hope that this will help you a bit, if not much, but at least. And if you want to have a copy, I'm just going to send this to the education committee for them to hand you the copy of my talk, and at least would help you get it done through day by day, this new normal. And I hope that everything will be in the best form as the days pass by. And we hope and pray that all these things will just pass, and someday we'll be back to the normal, to the original normal. But now we go to the new normal. Thank you so much, and God bless us all. Maraming salamat po.